Hello, I'm here today with my brother Rick.
Hi.
It's a real treat. I know I love it. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, sure.
And if you didn't know, Rick and I grew up pastors' kids, preachers' kids. And so, with that said, I lost my train of thought. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, it's just what it was. 'Cause that's all we knew.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so I know some people have asked me, said that I need counseling.
Yeah.
They've said it all kinds of ways
Yeah.
over the years.
They don't realize that you have your built-in counselor right there.
Right. 24/7 therapist.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know we were getting therapy all of our life because our dad isn't only a teacher, pastor, preacher, counselor, therapist,
Mm-hmm.
but he also is that 24/7. He never turns it off. He is what he is all the time. Mm-hmm. So I remember all kinds of great conversations we've had over the years, getting counseling when he'd pick me up from junior high and he'd ask me how my day went, and I would be bursting into tears saying I had all this rejection going on. And I remember him saying, so it sounds like you feel like you should be treated a certain way, don't you? And I'm like, well, of course I do, Dad. It's just common courtesy, right? So anyway, it's been going on all of our lives. Mm-hmm. And that leads me to the book Judgment that we've just been reading through this month. And I just thought I'd have Rick come on because he's actually mentioned in the book.
Yeah.
Did you know you're one of the main characters?
I'm the one that started it all.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think it was chapter 2 that Dad starts telling his whole story about his personal story about how he learned about judgment. But it starts with you. And do you remember how that began?
Yes. I started by asking Dad a question. That I noticed that my responses to my girlfriend were like exaggerated, angry, way more than what was, it should have been. So I asked Dad, I said, I have this anger. Can you tell me, how to get it fixed? So he told me some basic stuff about anger, and then he said he'd pray about it on their trip and tell me, when they got back. And so that's how the book happened.
Yeah. Yep. And so anyway, I've been having a really great time reading through it with some friends, and mm-hmm. that chapter is actually the part that we laugh out loud about.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so from what he learned, did he come back and share it with you, and did it have an effect? Did it help that issue of anger that you were dealing with?
I think so. Of course, now it's so long ago, I'm trying to remember. I began to, when he came back and shared with me about what the judgment thing that God was showing him for himself, then I began to look at that for myself and began to address some of those issues. And I think overall that the judgment that I had towards things and people began to lessen, just like it did with my dad. Mm-hmm. So I don't have that really so much anymore.
Yeah, thankfully. And especially since it's a process that God brings us through.
Right.
Like layers of an onion.
Pretty much.
I know when I first heard it, because it wasn't a book at first. It was him sharing it in churches. And so I remember I was sitting there thinking, I don't judge. I don't have a problem judging. And then after that, when I'd go and sit through church, mm-hmm. somebody would walk in and I'd be thinking, I don't like her hair. I don't like what she's wearing. I'm like, oh no, there's the can of worms. I didn't even know I was, might seem minor, but all these things do build up.
Well, when you realize, when somebody points something out to you, mm-hmm. then you realize what it is. And until that happens, you don't really realize.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very strongly opinionated. So I feel strongly about things. And so did Lee, didn't he? And so there is something that we have to learn when we feel strongly about things that are right and wrong. And I've learned I acknowledge how I feel, but I feel like I don't own it anymore because I've learned from Dad about judgment.
Yeah.
I release it, I nail it to the cross, and I say, even with everything I've been through since Lee's been gone, it's like, for the record, Lord, you know how I feel about this. For the record.
Yeah. So
he has the record, so I can be free of the judgment, and I just release it to him.
I think of it as getting out of the way. The judgments keep us in the way of true freedom, both for ourselves and for others. And so if we're always in the way, that can't ever happen.
That's true. Do you remember Lee had a story? We learned this, 25 years ago? Is that what it was? About
at least
25 or 30 years ago.
No, it's more than that. Well, the whole story happened more than that.
How old are we?
Yeah, I'm not saying.
That's when he was going to college. That's all I'm saying. And so we learned it, and it's been like layers of an onion, like I said. But I remember Lee took a work trip to California a few years ago. And I don't know if he shared this with you when he got back. He said, "Oh man, something really strange happened to him on the plane because he was getting ready to get off the plane, and I think he was out there walking down the plane to get onto the ground, that kind, because he said he started to, and he felt like God was convicting him of his judgment of California at large."
Yeah.
And he said, "Do you remember that?" And he said he was going down the stairs, and he was like, oh no, he felt like he could not get off the plane. He had to go back to his seat. And he said everybody else probably wondering what he was doing, not getting off the plane. But he said he had to take care of that. Yeah. He felt it was very important to him, or God highlighted it to him that it was very important for his life.
Right.
And everybody that he was going to be dealing with in California, that he released all of his preconceived ideas about the place. And so that was a good story. It's fun to learn from others. Yep. Maybe we don't have to repeat some of these things.
Yep, I've tried to take that on myself. Learn from others' mistakes so I don't have to make the same ones.
Yes. So thanks for coming on here, and real excited because Rick has a new book coming out called Art, the Church's Response. So maybe I'll have you back and interview you after that's out.
Yep.
Okay.
Look forward to it.
Thanks.